Trimming and removing trees are their specialty. They also offer other services like land clearing, stump grinding, crane services, and all of your basic landscaping needs for both commercial and residential.
Deep down the middle's got his man, and he's gone. Jason Swain, touchdown.
It's time for the Swain Event with your host, Jason Swain.
My man.
Real sports talk for the real sports fan.
All you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him.
It's time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Give me 2 rounds and a Ric Flair.
All right, here we go. Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. 865-255-03. All right, Ben. We got it, man. We got it. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. I would ask you how you are doing, but I know how you're doing, so
I'm good, man.
Sorry your morning started that way, but glad to be back with you and excited to talk some ball. You were watching Missouri Boston College as I was leaving the studio to go listen to Josh Heupel speak yesterday, so excited to start to get into this Tennessee-Missouri game on Saturday. That will be part of a 2-game stretch, a 2-week stretch that will, in my opinion, lead to defining Tennessee's season one way or another.
Yeah, man, this is it. This is the biggest game of the season right now. Really, maybe for both teams. Both teams are sitting at 2-2, and Missouri probably felt like they could have had a better outing against Kentucky and possibly won that game. Tennessee certainly could have had a better outing against Pittsburgh and won the game. Tennessee beat themselves several times against Florida, but both teams could probably say that they should be in a better spot right now, at least 3-1.
For sure. And Missouri, they came into the season with not high expectations, but there were some expectations set on them to take a pretty nice step forward in year 2 of Eli Drinkwitz. Eli Drinkwitz is a media darling because of his personality. The media really likes Eli Drinkwitz, so I think that helped play into the increased expectations going into the season. Just his personality and being so likable, and his offense flashing often and really exceeding expectations in year 1. And despite an increased set of expectations going into year 2, they haven't necessarily lived up to those expectations just yet. So that to your point is why this is probably the biggest game for Missouri as well, just because if Missouri can find a way to win this game, then it can get back on track to potentially reaching those expectations. If Missouri loses on Saturday, then Eli Drinkwitz and his Missouri football program isn't where people thought it would be coming into the season.
If you're going to get to 6 wins, you got to get this game, Ben. I don't know if there's another way around it. I really don't. 6 wins.
No, there's not. I mean, that's why I mentioned that this is the most important game, or part of the 2 most important games on Tennessee's schedule. This week and next week defines Tennessee's season. At Missouri, home versus South Carolina, because of what you just said, Swain, is if you're going to get to 6 wins, you have to beat Missouri, you have to beat South Carolina. Obviously, there are more games on the schedule, so theoretically you could win other games, but these are the easiest, not that they are easy games, but of the games remaining outside of Vanderbilt, South Alabama, these are the 2 that would really go a long ways towards getting to that 6-win mark.
you put a lot of pressure on yourself if you don't win this game, because you got South Carolina up next, you got Ole Miss, Alabama, Kentucky, Georgia, before you get to South Alabama, before you get to Vanderbilt. So a lot of pressure on the coaches, administration, because they know how important this game is. The players, I don't think you understand like the grand scheme of everything and how you can possibly miss a bowl game if you don't win this game. But the coaches certainly understand how important this game is.
And I like that the players don't realize the full scope of what a potential loss could mean this weekend. And I also like that they don't necessarily know what, the win could do either. My point being that I like that the players don't realize the grand scheme outlook on the season with this game and next game, because as a player, you know this better than anybody, is you can't get caught up in all of that talk. You have to be locked in on this game and going out and handling your business as such.
For sure. No doubt about it. It's all about, playing the next game and getting better, making those corrections. And they have plenty to correct from the Florida game, plenty to correct from the first 4 games altogether. So you got to go out, you got to play as close as you can to mistake-free football. It never works out that way. You're always going to have mistakes, but you can't have mistakes like you did against Florida, and you certainly can't have it like you did against Pittsburgh, because when you're playing better teams and you make mistakes, it gets you beat. And Missouri's a team that could be looking at themselves right now saying we should be 3-1. They were moving the ball up and down the football field against BC there in the first half. Connor Bazelak had 300-something yards passing. As a team that had 300 yards passing, did not run the football well. They only had 88 yards for the entire game. But BC was gashing Missouri there in the first half, Ben. Can Tennessee do some of those same things? I don't know, man, because Tennessee was able to run the football at times very, very well against a Florida defensive line. That's certainly better than BC's and Missouri's. So which Tennessee running game are we going to see on Saturday? I think the passing game should be good for Tennessee. Watching Missouri's DBs, number 8 is a redshirt sophomore, but he doesn't move as well as I think the Tennessee receivers move. On the other side, they have a redshirt senior corner, number 26, and his change of direction is a little questionable. He gets worked by a true freshman, undersized receiver there at BC there in the first half. So I think there's opportunities based on the personnel from BC. Now, our receivers haven't played necessarily great in the first 4 games either, but there is a matchup advantage, I think, for us if we use it. And it doesn't matter how open guys are if you don't have time to throw the football. So a lot of it may be predicated on the health of Hendon Hooker. If he can't go, what is Joe Milton going to be asked to do? Will he be asked to play to his strengths, or will he be asked to do something that clearly he is struggling with doing right now? That's throwing 15 yards down the field or more with accuracy. So I see an opportunity for sure for Tennessee, Ben.
I see an opportunity, but there's also some worrisome headlines at the beginning of this week. You mentioned the run game and Tennessee being able to run the football on Florida. That was in large part because of Cooper Mays, in my opinion, just his presence and that allowing Jerome Carvin to slide back over to left guard. And just aside from pure football, the tempo and communication, Cooper Mays is excellent in those areas, pushing the tempo and in terms of communication, making sure his guys are all where they need to be and understanding the assignment. And we talked about it yesterday. Before Cooper re-injured his lower extremity injury, Tennessee was running the ball extremely well. And then Cooper gets banged up again. And really when he comes out of the game, Tennessee didn't run it as effectively. They still had some 10-plus yard rushes, but it wasn't as not easy, but it wasn't as smooth as it was when Cooper was in there and looked to be healthy. And I think his availability this week is in serious question. I would say that he's extremely doubtful to play. So that brings into question the running game once again, because you saw him out against Pittsburgh, you saw him out against Tennessee Tech, and Tennessee wasn't able to run the football the way that they did before he got hurt against Bowling Green, or even in the Florida game before he re-injured his injury. So that's a huge concern of mine going into the game, and really unfortunate because it looked like Tennessee's running game really started to turn the corner with Jabari Small coming back, Tyon Evans continuing to see his workload increase. I thought those two looked really good. The O-line looked good, and then it's like back to where we were when Cooper got hurt. So that's a huge concern. And then Hendon as well, because as you and I talked about yesterday, he's 100%, no doubt in our minds, QB1 and should be QB1. And I wonder how much of Josh Heupel's comments yesterday about not knowing whether he'll be available on Saturday's gamesmanship. You and I talked about that after the show off the air, that I actually thought that Heupel was going to say those exact words or something along those lines to maybe keep Missouri on your toes, just because you want to play the little side games going into the game. So I do wonder how much Heupel's comments about Hooker is gamesmanship, but if Hooker's availability is in doubt, then that's a serious concern as well, because I don't think there's any doubt that he's the best quarterback on this roster right now.
Yeah, when Heupel is talking, man, there's not much you can take from what he says at the press conferences. I mean, I was watching yesterday and listening yesterday, and I didn't take anything from it. You've mentioned this before, but now I see why Orlando media was not necessarily crying or sad when he was leaving, because you don't get anything. You don't get anything from what he says. Now, obviously, it's different when he's talking to his team and his players, and that's all that matters. And it's different when he's maybe addressing a group of people other than the media. And that's important, too, when you're the head coach of Tennessee. But when he's talking to the media, man, he doesn't even answer questions directly.
No. I don't think that's Heupel away from the podium. I've seen a different Heupel away from the podium. I just don't think he wants to reveal a ton about his football team, because he wants to play the game within the game. Doesn't want to tip off anything to the opponents. So I get it from the head football coach standpoint, but on this end, as media, as a fan, wanting insight on certain things happening or updates on players, how players are progressing, it is frustrating. But I get it from the head coaching standpoint.
100%. 100%. And I would do the same thing if I'm Josh Heupel. I mean, I wouldn't give the opponent anything that's going to help them beat me, considering where my team is right now and where this program is. I need every single advantage I can take. That will be my approach. But I was watching and listening. I was like, man, he is answering the question the way he wants to answer it, not even answering questions directly. And hey, listen, at the end of the day, you control the interview when you ask the questions. You can say whatever you want to say, but for those that are looking for like real answers from the game Saturday, as you were watching yesterday, you wasn't gonna get them. And I'm sorry, there's just nothing from that interview that answered a lot of questions about Saturday in detail. It was about just making the plays and capitalizing. Well, yeah, duh, we know that. So don't get your expectations up. I know some folks were talking about the question he was asked about the quarterback's health, and would that mean that Harrison Bailey would, get ready to go, and he didn't even acknowledge Harrison Bailey, which tells me that the quarterbacks are healthier than what people think.
Yeah, that was one one question in which Josh Heupel just did not want to dive into whatsoever. And again, I get it. I would do the same thing if I was Josh Heupel. I don't want Missouri knowing the status of my quarterbacks going in to the weekend. I would not want them to know at all, because I don't think that there's a quarterback competition between Joe Milton and Harrison Bailey for QB2. I think it's Joe Milton. And if you sit there and say that, hey, Harrison Bailey may play, he may be QB2, then Missouri can – I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword, Swain. I'll be curious to hear your angle on what I'm about to say, because if Heupel were to say that, yeah, Harrison Bailey's in the mix, he could try out there and play, then on one side of the coin, that's more prep that Missouri has to do. You have to account for Harrison Bailey. Missouri would scheme up and game plan certain things for if Harrison Bailey's in the game. But on the other side of that coin, because you are essentially telling them, hey, you better get prepared for Harrison Bailey, then they will be prepared for Harrison Bailey.
And you creating a quarterback controversy.
Yes.
When you really don't need one, or there's no reason to have one right now, because you have Hendon Hooker that is playing right now at a starter level, better than the other two guys. So that was what stood out to me yesterday during the presser. You are correct, man. I did watch BC and Missouri, and BC did a really good job in the running game. Missouri on third down, they'll show some pressure. They will come after the quarterback. They did that in a key moment there in the first half. One thing that BC did that helped them win is that they bowed their neck in the red zone. Missouri didn't have much problem not running football, but moving the football through the air. They didn't have much problem. Connor Bazelak does a good job. He doesn't key in on one receiver. He doesn't have necessarily a favorite guy that he's willing to throw the ball to when there's other guys open. He spreads the ball out. At one point, man, he threw the ball to like 9 or 10, 11 different receivers there in the first half. So he is comfortable in the offense. He's going to take what the defense gives him. You saw that in the Missouri-BC game. So Tennessee has to do a really good job of, when Mizzou does catch the ball from a pass, you got to make the tackle. You can't miss tackles. You don't necessarily know exactly where he's going to go with the football, because he is going to the option that is given to him. He didn't try to force things too much the entire game, but he did wind up having a couple turnovers. But Mizzou's going to pass the football. And the pass rush for Tennessee, can we bring that out? Now, I thought Tennessee's defensive line did better than what we expected against Florida, but got to have more than one sack. You gotta get Connor Bazelak off his spot. Don't let him be comfortable in the pocket, because if he's comfortable, he's stepping into throws. Most quarterbacks are gonna be accurate and hit those. So Tennessee has to get pressure on Connor Bazelak. Tennessee's defensive line, this is a perfect coming out party for you. Mizzou can't run the football, but they can pass block a little bit. But this is a perfect opportunity for Tennessee's defensive line, Ben.
One of the more puzzling storylines to come out of the Florida game for me was the lack of Byron Young, and not necessarily production. There was a severe lack of production from Byron Young, but he was barely on the field. I was kind of surprised by the lack of snaps for Byron Young. And is that, Tennessee trying to knock the rust off of him? I think it's the fact that because of the two games that he couldn't play, maybe Tennessee just doesn't necessarily trust him to throw him out there right now. because I don't know why he's not on the field more. Tyler Barron, I like Tyler Barron, and he should continue to play, but it was a heavy dose of Tyler Barron. And those two guys do play the same position. So, again, Tyler Barron has a leg up because he was in the games in which Byron Young wasn't and was making plays against Pittsburgh, against Bowling Green. But I guess what surprised me more so was that Roman Harrison played as much as he did, and Byron Young wasn't in there. So you want to talk about a coming out party. This needs to be a coming out party for Byron Young. And really those Tennessee edge defenders, because I do think that Tennessee's defensive line played well against Florida's offensive line. I know the Florida rushing stats are lofty. They don't look good if you're Tennessee, but those rushing yards came from Emory Jones getting out of the pocket because either coverage was great downfield and Tennessee's front seven didn't do a good job containing Emory and keeping him in the pocket, and they allowed him to get out and scramble down the field. He had the big 47-yard chunk rush towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter when I think it was Roman Harrison was in the game. Roman just completely forgot that he had to set the edge and was watching the back the whole time and just did not account for Emory Jones. And Emory Jones saw Roman crash and saw a wide open field behind him and took off. So a lot of Florida's rushing production came from Emory Jones and his just natural ability to get out of the pocket. It wasn't Florida lining up and the offensive line just manhandling Tennessee's defensive line. That's not what happened. And Tennessee's going to have to do a good job of that this week as well, because Missouri has a nice back in Tyler Beatty. Mm-hmm. He is one of the more underrated players in this league because of who he plays for. And unfortunately for him, he runs behind a below average Missouri offensive line, but he's a guy that can hurt you out of the backfield as a pass catcher, running the football. Tennessee is really going to have to account for him and slow him down, because aside from Connor Bazelak, he's their best option. He's their best playmaker.
Let's go to the phones, Ben, and for those that are calling, we'll call today because Ben is in Hotlanta. He went to the J. Cole hip hop rap concert. He's a hip hop connoisseur. Ben, man, works his tail off, man. So I hope you had a great time. I'd love to hear about it here in a little bit. But let's go to the phones because Ben is not here and I'm in the studio. If you're calling, as soon as you call them, put you on hold and then bring you on. Just tell us, your name and where you call from, and that's how we'll do it today. So, good morning. Who do we have?
Good morning. This is Andy. I'm in Knoxville.
What's up, Andy? Good morning.
Not much, man. Good morning. I had a quick question for you. Yesterday I was listening, and I mainly get to hear hour one. That's just what falls in my commute time to work. Mm-hmm. But I try to catch the podcast when I can, of course. But regardless, in hour one you seem more frustrated with wide receiver play, and some carryover, maybe some practice habits or some habits, whatever's going on in the throw sessions. I don't know, but I saw another media member that went and watched the game, and this media member, not a former receiver, so take it for what it is, but they gave the receivers I think it was like a B or a B- grade. And do you feel like that's maybe being a little generous? What grade would you have given them for the Florida performance?
I gave him a D yesterday, and I was being generous. When someone asked me what the grade should be, I gave him a D. But obviously I'm going to see the game differently because I played the position. So what many people think, oh, that's good, I'm looking at it going, no, that's terrible, that's bad. When you have multiple drops and your job is to catch the football, how do you give that group a B? That makes no sense to me. So no, I was harsh on the receivers, and I thought I was fair because You had a key drop on 4th down and 5 that turned the game in the opposite direction. This has been a consistent thing for the last 4 games of receivers dropping passes, of not being tough, not blocking in the run game the way that we could. So, yeah, the receivers right now are the weakest link. Right.
Now. I mean, I have to agree. And I wanted to ask you, I haven't really been paying attention to this. Do you feel like they're blocking effectively downfield at all for a run attack?
No, I think they're being soft in the running game.
Because that's going to be a big deal for those second levels. I mean, we're doing good on our first initial bust, through the middle when we do get some good blocking. But those deep runs, we're going to have to block the second level players.
Yeah, but I mean, scheme-wise, I don't know if we're always asked to block ferociously either. I mean, there's times when our receivers are lined up at basically 2 or 3 steps from the sideline, and a running players ran, and our guys, they just take that play as a break. Now, when you look at other teams play offense, there's no break for the DB. I'm after your butt in the running game, and I'm certainly after your butt in the passing game because I want to make you work for 60 minutes. Now, this offense makes DBs work differently. You got to work every single play, lining up quick, fast, and so it's worth giving our receivers a little blow, even if it gives you a little blow, because we know that we're going to put pressure on you and your conditioning in other ways. So, yeah, I mean, the receivers, there's no way I'm giving them a B. Javonte Payton had a great catch and run, but that was scheme, man. Scheme got Javonte open, not taking anything away from Javonte, but that scheme and play design was fantastic. Javonte made the catch, scored a touchdown. Again, I'm not taking anything away from him, but that's different than one-on-one versus someone that is a corner. You make a guy miss, boom, you are showing unbelievable effort. You're straining. Like we just don't see a lot of that at that position. So I'm sorry, I'm not giving any passing grade to a group that their job is to catch and you had multiple drops. Like if the offensive line gave up 5 sacks, how could we sit here and give the offensive line, a B? That makes no sense to me. So I'm not trying to come down on these guys and be too harsh, but I'm not gonna lie. Because I don't think it's fair to you, and I just don't think it's fair, period. Like, everyone has eyeballs. They're not playing at a high level. This is Tennessee. There's a lot of Tennessee fans that have watched receivers play at a high level here, and they know that's not it. So I'm not going to even attempt to lie and try to trick our listeners. That's not fair. So, no, man, it ain't good enough. It can't continue, and if it does, this offense will rely on Josh Heupel having a scheme up offensive plays perfectly to only score 14 points.
Do you feel that they're putting in the time in the off season?
Not enough.
Do you feel like they put in what was needed?
Not enough. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope, not enough. You can think. Here's the thing. You can think you are doing what you're supposed to do. You can think because you don't know. You can think.
Well, I think there's a inspiration out there where he says, and I think he might have done it on your show where he said anybody can do what's required. Anybody can wake up and do what's required. If you want to be great, you got to go above. You got to do more because any average Joe clocking in and out every day on XYZ football team is running the regular route trees. So. You got to go above that.
Well, Andy, I'll tell you this. My first 3 years, I thought I was working hard. Like, I thought I was doing everything I needed to do to be the best receiver I can be. And I didn't have a problem with drops in my career, but I was only doing what I was told to do. And my receiver coach was let go in 2005, my junior year, after the group did not perform well. And we went 5-6. And when you go 5-6, people got to be fired. And that's just the way it is. Well, when I got a new wide receiver coach, we were told, you catch 100 balls a day. This is what you do, And then I decided on Tuesday and Thursdays when we threw that we're also going to have a receiver individual session. So not only did we throw as a team, but I basically took the wide receivers myself, and Ben, you know how you go to practice and you see like individual periods? Like,
Yep.
I would have my own individual period about 30 minutes. And we had an assistant from the strength staff that at first was kind of running it. I told True, man, he's getting in my way. He's slowing us up. I don't need him. I got it. And so then it was just me. But like we did practice sessions, individual sessions as a group. And we worked on blocking. We worked on, all right, here's a play. What angle are we taking? All right, we're working on slants today. All right, we're working on slants versus off. We're working on slants versus press. Working on slants versus two. Working on slants versus like in a goal line situation. Like we broke down routes that detailed. But the reason why is because Troop told us to do it. Troop told us to do it, and I just took it a little bit further. So it ain't the fact that the group is lazy. Maybe they just don't know. There may be some lazy guys in the group. But the reason why the ball's hitting the ground is because your practice habits are not right. There's a lack of concentration, and you are allowed to continue to do that. I do not believe that we're catching everything in practice, doing everything right in practice, and then in the games, bad luck, man, just not focusing in the game. It doesn't work that way. You're a creature of habit. And these are habits.
That's all I have.
Just transfer into the
thank
game.
you for taking my call, guys. Ben, hope you had fun, man. Have a good day.
Yeah, Ben, tell us about the concert. Thanks for the phone call, Andy.
Yeah, appreciate you, Andy. Hope you have a great day. The concert was awesome. J. Cole, awesome. One of my absolute favorite musical artists. I'm a big believer that music can really help somebody get through some tough times or lift some spirits. And I'm just a big believer in music being good for the soul. And J. Cole is one of my guys that I just always go to if I need somebody to uplift me or get me through the day or, just the everyday struggles of life. He's been one of those guys that's always kind of helped me get through it. So I was glad I was able to go watch him last night, and he was awesome as advertised, and it was a real good time.
What time did you get to what time did you get to bed, man?
I think it was 2.
Ooh.
But it wasn't because I was like out partying or something. The concert didn't start till like an hour and 20 minutes after it was supposed to. It was supposed to start at 8. Obviously, J. Cole isn't the only guy performing. There were 2 others performing, and they were still doing sound checks when people were coming into the arena. They had the curtains up and weren't allowing people to go to their seats for a couple minutes, and they were running behind in typical tour fashion.
They always do that, man.
Yep. So the J. Cole didn't go on stage until like 11:30 and perform for I guess an hour or so, and then walk into the car and traffic and driving to the hotel, checking in. And
where was the concert?
At State Farm Arena where the Hawks play.
Where the Hawks play. Yeah. It's real nice.
I saw Trey Young, yelled at him, told him that Ja Morant's better.
I mean, you would only be telling the truth if you said that. Ja's better. Ja's better, Trey. Ja's better. Oh, man. I'm glad.
It was cool.
I'm glad you were able to do that, man. My last concert was like 2003. And it was like outside. It was in, I want to say it was in Nashville. It was 2003. This is when like Kanye first came out. And so there was like an outdoor theater type. And we went to Nashville for like community service or something as a freshman. So we checked out Kanye for a little bit. Before then, my last concert was in Huntsville. I was in high school. And, dude, it was a Cash Money concert. It's in Huntsville. Cash Money concert. Jaheim was also there, R&B artist that wear Timberland boots with jean shorts. But he was there. Genuine was there. So it was Genuine, Jaheim, and Cash Money. And this was like when Lil Wayne was like, a lot younger. But I'll never forget that, man. All concerts start late, man. It's just the way it is. So glad you had a good time.
All start late. I appreciate it. I'm not a big concert person. Haven't been to a ton. I think this was my second or third. And there are very few artists in any genre that I would travel to go see. And J. Cole's the one of the two or three that I would. So I was glad to mark this off the bucket list. He was awesome.
Yeah. Vol P58 says, hey, Swain, can Mizzou's quarterback evade pressure like Emory? No. Connor Bays can move around, but he's no Emory Jones. He is no Emory Jones. But you do have someone that is better from the pocket. And Mizzou did not give up a sack against BC. Not saying BC has Dwight Freeney or Derek Barnett, who, by the way, still is getting personal foul calls and penalties in the NFL. Did you see where the Eagles coach was like, it's always him?
I did not see that.
Yeah, he mouthed it, and he was like, it's always him. So the Eagles may be getting tired of Derek Barnett getting those type of flags, man. I think
that's a new coach too.
They're getting tired of it. GBO says Jimmy Hines reported 78 players on scholarship, not 71. But they are counting D'Angelo Gibbs and Carlin Fields and me. The numbers in the 70s, and what I was told ain't 78. It's not high 70s. It's more like low to mid 70s. So I didn't even know Carlin Fields and me was even who was like, I saw where he hit the transfer portal. I was like, I thought he was already in there.
I thought he was done with college.
I thought he was on another team already. I didn't even know that it was still a thing that he was on the team. I ain't heard about him in forever. I totally forgot about him.
Yeah, I did too. What signing class? I think he was the 16 signing class, maybe 15. I mean, he's
old.
A throwback. Yeah, he's old. He was in. He got there when I was in school.
Bro, he is 24 years old. He committed to Tennessee in 2015. 2015, man. Carlin Fields and me is old, but he was a good teammate.
Tyler Bird.
He was a good teammate. He worked his butt off. He didn't create any issues. He came from Florida. I'm pretty sure he felt like he could have went somewhere else and got more burn, maybe used differently. But I will say, man, he did what he's supposed to do off the field and was a good teammate. I thought he was somewhere else already. So yeah, that scholarship number. Last time I had asked over there and talked with someone over there, it was like mid 70s, low 70s. It wasn't 78. Big Bad Voodoo Nate says he worked for the event staff at Bridgestone from 98 to 03. Mystical performed there and wouldn't go on till he got his money. Prince played there one time and wouldn't play until the floor people were seated. He didn't start until 11 p.m. So, man, it's always late. Those concerts are always late, man. All right, let's go to the phones right quick, and then we'll take a break at the top of the hour. Good morning. Who do we have there?
What's going on, guys?
Dave Tona, what's up, man?
Not a whole lot. Hey, one thing that I noticed from the game, and correct me if I'm wrong, why were we playing off the receiver so much? It seemed like that there was guys open 10, 15 yards, and we were still behind them. I mean, when don't you tighten that up? Move your corners. Why don't we ever play press?
Well, playing off allows you as a corner. Now, if it's 3rd down and 10 and you're playing off, no, if it's third down and 5 and you're playing off 12 and then you just let dude run a hitch route for a 1st down, then yeah, I got some problems with that. You got another down distance, be more aggressive. But when you play a little bit off, you allow the corner to be able to see the quarterback. Also, most of your routes are ran between that 5 to 10 mark, the intermediate routes, and you're making it easier on a guy like Emory Jones. If you press the receiver, and the receiver beats you, he just throws it over the top. So it's actually harder for the quarterback when you have a corner play a little bit off and play some zone, mix it up a little bit. So I don't have a problem with the way our corners are playing off, honestly, Dave Toner.
Well, it just seemed like there was so many plays that was, 10 or 15 easy yards and another 3 or 4 yards before our corner got to him.
Well, what I noticed as the problem was that in this zone that Tim Banks was running out there is that the guys weren't necessarily communicating all that well. When there were a couple of chunk passing plays, it was because one DB thought the other DB was going to pick up his man going from one area of the field to the next. And for the most part, I thought Tennessee secondary played well. Again, a lot of Emory Jones's rushing yards came off of great coverage down the field of him not having anywhere to go with the football, and he got out of the pocket and was able to run around and make some plays. So Florida's receivers weren't open a ton, but Daytona, there were a couple where Tennessee was playing a soft zone, and the Florida receiver did a good job of identifying an open spot in the zone and throttling down and sitting in the zone, and Emory Jones hit them a couple times. But that was what I noticed in terms of Tennessee's pass defense is guys didn't pass off a Florida receiver all that well. Seemed to be a little confusion on that.
I mean, if we're talking about sitting down in zones, that has nothing that has little to do with playing press or playing up on a receiver. I mean, sitting down in the zones, that simply means that a receiver's running either a crossing route or intermediate curl route, dig route in his zone, and he's sitting down, giving the quarterback his numbers. There was one play where Dan Mullen is jumping on number 12 because he didn't sit down, or maybe he did sit down and he's supposed to run through it, one of the two. But he did not read the defense correctly, and Dan Mullen, as he was coming off the sideline on 4th down, was talking to him about making sure that he did the right thing. So, to answer your question directly, Daytona, I didn't have a problem with how we played our alignment. Man, we don't have Deion Sanders, who can play press and play man-to-man all over the field. We don't have Darrelle Revis. So this defense is a bend but don't break defense. We knew that kind of going into the season, and they've held their own this football season. They have done better than what we expected. I thought Alante did a really good job of forcing a turnover there, ripping the ball out on the Florida wide receiver. So, yeah, there's things to point at for sure from the football game of a reason why we were unsuccessful. I don't think I'm putting the alignment of our DBs up there at the top. That's just me.
Well, one of the things we can put up there is, there was a lot of missed tackles. Yeah,
for sure. For sure. Definitely put that up there. That should be it, at the top. But our defense is wearing out, man. They're wearing down. And offensively, when you don't take care of business and you have 3 and outs, at some point the defense is going to wear out. I don't care how conditioned you are. I don't care how much you run. If you play too many snaps on defense, a defense will wear down. You get tired, your fundamentals goes out the window. And we started to see there in the second half more and more missed tackles. Why is that? Because you didn't see it in the first half. Well, it has to be because of fatigue. And it's not because you're out of shape. It's just because, you're getting wore down. You're playing a bunch of snaps.
All right, guys. Well, y'all have a great, blessed day.
Hey, thank you, Daytona, man. 865-255-03 is our telephone number. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. We'll take a quick time out. Got everything back normal, technology-wise. So, apologize for the first of the hour, but we have things going now. We'll take our first break of the day. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. Stay with us.
Good morning, Swain Event crew. As the weather heats up, so does our market. And from Johnson City to Knoxville, eager buyers are grabbing up many available properties. The chili is hot in East Tennessee, so if you are ready to buy or sell or want to talk more about our local real estate market, I'm just a phone call away. Or email me at jennifermorris865@gmail.com. And go Vols!
We're here with Dr. Michael Carlson of Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine to discuss PRP, platelet-rich plasma. If you have orthopedic injuries such as shoulder pain, knee pain, Achilles tendonitis, or tennis elbow, you should give them a call.
Good to be back, Jason. We specialize in non-surgical orthopedics, so we treat damaged tendons, ligaments, and joints, including rotator cuff injuries, knee injuries, and elbow and foot problems by using ultrasound-guided injections with PRP. And this form of treatment helps stimulate the body's own reparative process and assist in the healing of damaged tissue.
Doc, what makes your training different than others?
I've been practicing in Knoxville for over 26 years, and I'm certified in interventional regenerative orthopedic medicine through the American Academy of Orthopedic Medicine. They've been the leader in this form of treatment since 1983. I also teach this form of treatment on a national and international basis to other physicians, residents, and medical students. Here in our clinic, I'm the one doing the procedure, and we're using your own PRP, which are concentrated platelets, to treat your injury. So in other words, Jason, it comes from you and it goes back to you. So you know exactly what you're getting and know exactly the level of training involved.
Do what the pros, college athletes, and I have done, and visit them online at trsportsmedicine.com. Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine, East Tennessee's leader in PRP therapy.
Top 100 barbecue restaurant Dead End Barbecue is a no-brainer when you are craving the smoky flavor of quality Q. Dead End makes it easy to enjoy their fantastic menu with online ordering from Chow Now for pickup. Or if you don't feel like leaving the house, then have Dead End Barbecue.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America, 865-255-03. Hope you're having a great morning. Ben McKee, Jason Swain. Yeah, I did not have a problem with the alignment of the DBs. We're not going to play. We're not a press you up type of defense. We can't be. We don't have the guys that can do that consistently. There's opportunities when you can do that, but lining up and just doing it consistently, that's not our game. So I don't expect that at all. Neil Mafia says blank Tim Tebow. Why is Velus Jones not utilized more? I think he may have the best, most trusted hands on the team. Every time the ball goes his way, he is wide open in middle of the football field. Also, with his size and wiggle, he would have been a heck of a running back. Hard to disagree with that one, Ben. I mean, I think him and Tyon Evans are the best ball handlers that we have. And then you throw in Jabari Small. And what I mean by ball handlers, I'm not talking about like basketball, point guard, anything like that, doing an and one mixtape or showing us your crossover and spin move. I'm talking about a guy that makes the most happen with the ball in his hand. I think that's Velus Jones. I think that's Jabari Small along with Tyon Evans.
Completely agree. Completely agree. There's just a difference when Tyon and Velus have the ball in their hands. You feel like they are about to break a tackle and break off a big play. I mean, even on the Tyon Evans 47-yard touchdown reception on the screen on third down against Florida, it was a great time to call that play in that situation. And Tyon didn't necessarily get the best help in the world in terms of his blockers getting out in space and getting in the way of somebody. Darnell Wright somewhat got in the way of somebody, but you had a couple of linemen out there trying to block in space. You had some receivers down the field trying to block for Tyon, and nobody really had a dominating block.
They did
really
the job,
helped.
man. They did a job. You can't. It's hard to ask the elephant to go block a mouse in space.
I get it. I mean, I'm just saying, like, even within the parameters of the play, like, it wasn't like he had three lead blockers just opening up massive holes. He had to have some wiggle and make some guys miss to break away from the Florida defense and go in and score. Darnell Wright did a good job. I'm not trying to discredit him because he, like you said, he's a big old boy and an elephant in space, and he chipped, I think it was a DB, just enough to affect him and really help spring Tyon. But my point is that it just wasn't, there weren't guys out there just dominating blocks. Tyon had to show a little wiggle and get upfield quickly, and he did. And he just has a burst of speed that I didn't really anticipate, Swain. I don't know if he's kind of surprised you in that regards. He's quicker than I thought he would be.
Man, I love watching Tyon play. I really do. I think he's the closest thing on this football team to Juwan Jennings as far as the grit, the toughness, the dog mentality. I love watching Tyon play. And listen, I'll tell you, he plays with toughness. He plays with grit. He plays with toughness as well too. So it's I don't want to leave him out, but offensively is the easy comparison because Juwan played offense, but Tyon's the closest thing, man, on offense to Juwan Jennings. I love watching him run the football, the play where the helmet gets knocked off, and I mean he's not even on the ground because he's churning, he's clawing, he's fighting, he's scratching for every single inch that he can possibly get because he understands the magnitude of this football game while protecting the football. So, huge Tyon Evans fan. I'm glad that we have him here at Tennessee because Tyon Evans, I think, is one of the few guys on our football team that you can see playing at other schools in the SEC that are better than us.
Well, I was going to say at the next level. I think Tyon Evans can make an NFL roster, and he just does such a great job of keeping his feet going, and that's something that I noted when I went back and watched the game. And you've seen that from him earlier this season as well. But on every single play, his feet do not stop moving until he is on the ground and he's laying horizontal and not standing up vertical. And it really reminds me of John Kelly. It really does. And I know I've compared Jabari Small to John Kelly as well. I did over the offseason. Jabari Small, his runs, the few that he had last year reminded me of John Kelly, just the way he runs so mean and refuses to be brought down. Tennessee has two guys that have that mindset back there, Jabari Small and Tyon Evans, a little bit different in how they do so, but both refuse to be brought down and don't quit fighting on their run until the play is well over.
Yeah. Yeah, Tyon Evans, to me, could go play at any school in the SEC. Like I think I'm comfortable saying that. Like he would be in the 3-man rotation at any school in the SEC.
I think I agree.
I mean, listen, if you're talking about him being an NFL back, he gotta be. He gotta be one of those guys that can play at any school.
I'm hesitating on Alabama
in
because all of their 5-6 guys are NFL players.
Well,
so, like, just because I think Tyon's an NFL back doesn't mean he's going to crack the 3 deep at Bama. Bama has 4th, 5th, and 6th stringers that are going to play in the NFL. So, I do think that I think he would crack the top 3 at Bama. Brian Robinson is Alabama's starting running back, and he is really good. I really like his game, so I don't think he would play over Brian Robinson. But after that, they've got some youngsters: Jace McClellan, a sophomore; Roydale Williams, a sophomore; Trey Sanders, a redshirt sophomore, and Trey Sanders, a former 5-star, former #1 running back in the country. He hasn't had the career that many thought he would because of injuries on the field, and then last offseason had to recover from a hip injury that he suffered in a car accident that nearly cost him his career. So I do agree with you. I just wanted to stop and think, but I agree. I think Tyon would be in the 3 deep at Bama for sure.
I mean, I understand why you hesitated because trust me, I was thinking about it long and hard before I even mentioned it. So I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, at least every school except for Alabama. But hey, man, the way he's been running the football, I mean, guys,
I'll tell you the one that's interesting is actually Florida. I'd be curious to see where Tyon would slide into that Florida running back room because you saw on Saturday against Tennessee, Damian Pierce, Naquan Wright, and Malik Davis. They all 3 made plays against Tennessee and have all season long. So, I mean, Florida's 3 are quite frankly better than Alabama's 3. So I'd be curious to see where Tyon Evans would slide into that trio because all 3 make plays in different ways. They're all 3 very talented backs. I wonder how Tyon would slide in there.
Big Orange 123 says first day of Baller Vols. Let's go.
Yes. We can get excited now, and then never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, I am excited about Tennessee basketball. Another crop of NBA talented players, NBA quality players. Another recruiting class of 5 stars or 4 stars, and dudes that are going to buy into the culture and play their butts off. And man, don't get concerned with some of the distractions that other guys or athletes are distracted with and concerned with. They actually care about playing ball rather than seeing who got the most drip. So I'm looking forward to seeing the basketball team.
I am too. They have some interesting players, exciting players. John Fulkerson back for his 19th season of college basketball.
Yeah, him and Carlin Fields and me, man, they came in together.
I know. I think Folky was here before Carlin Fields. Me. John Fulkerson played in that North Carolina game a couple of years ago in Chapel Hill. That's how long John Fulkerson's been on this team, back when Tennessee was in Maui. That seems forever ago. I'm excited to see if he can take a step forward. Kennedy Chandler is going to be electric. I mean, he has top 5 NBA draft potential, top 10 potential for sure. You have returning guys that I'm excited to see: Josiah Jordan-James, Victor Bailey, Santiago. You add Justin Powell from Auburn, who's going to be a stud. I would imagine that he starts. I'm excited to see what Olivier Cambois does. I hear that he's had a good offseason and is looking really, really good. So Rick has always hyped up Olivier. So I'm really intrigued to see if he can finally tap into that potential that Rick sees in him.
It would be about time, right? He's a 30-year player.
It would be about time. And I mentioned all those guys and didn't even mention Brandon Huntley Hatfield, a 5-star, Jonas Adu, borderline 5-star, depending on which site you look at. Those are 2 big-time post players. I'm excited to see this kid from the Bronx, Zakai Ziegler, who recently got to Tennessee, picked Tennessee as school was starting and reclassified. And apparently he pushes Kennedy in practice all day long. He's just a scrappy point guard from New York City. And I'm excited to see that on this basketball team.
A Yankee just like you. Don Mills says, crazy. Seems like Josiah Jordan-James has been here forever. No. Entering his 3rd year. But I mean, he's had to be like one of the leaders as a true sophomore. So he's certainly more mature than most at his age. TC from Virginia says, again, I'm not a fan of moral victories, but I was curious what you all thought about Dan Mullen, saying how much different we were compared to last year with the fight, effort, and et cetera. I mean, I agree. I mean, we saw that in the first game. We saw that in the second game. We saw that all year. We certainly saw that on Saturday. So Dan Mullen didn't really say anything different than what we have said as fans watching Tennessee all 4 games. But it is I guess a pretty nice compliment when your opponent is saying that about you. He also said something that probably will hurt your feelings as a Tennessee fan. Not sure if he did it intentionally, but he was like, yeah, we was resting some guys, to get them 100%. And I think I saw – I'll pull it up and tell you exactly what the quote was. But I don't think he, intentionally did it. But
doesn't that sound silly in hindsight? Because Tennessee was a dropped Jimmy Callaway pass on 4th and 5. You can't 100% say that Tennessee would have scored on that drive, but like I talked about yesterday, I think Tennessee would have punched it in. And if Tennessee does, it's a 24-21 ball game going into the 4th quarter. So I don't know that I'd be admitting that if I were Dan Mullen, but also people don't look at it that way. People see the score, final score, and say, oh, same old. Florida blew out Tennessee.
Yeah, it was Thomas Goldcamp from the 247 Florida site, and he had quoted Dan Mullen. He says, Dan Mullen today admitted Gators basically rested key guys who were not 100% against the Vols. Adding insult to injury, defensive coordinator Todd Grantham just praised Kentucky's offense. It's a much more difficult challenge than, say, last week. So, I mean, it should be the more difficult challenge because Kentucky right now is a better football team. So, it don't hurt my feelings.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It's depressing. It's depressing. I never in my life thought that we would be hearing coaches make comments about how Kentucky is tougher of a matchup than Tennessee. And part of that is that Kentucky has really taken a step forward in football. But still, even with Kentucky taking a step forward in football, Tennessee shouldn't be behind Kentucky in football. It's just depressing.
Yeah, I think this might be a good time to take a break there, Ben. Regroup emotionally. 865-255-03. We'll be right back. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
I'm Vince Moore, wide receiver, VFL 1991, and you're listening to the Swain Event.
JC's Tree and Landscaping Service specializes in quality tree work done at an affordable price. Trimming and removing trees are their specialty. They also offer other services like land clearing, stump grinding, crane services, and all of your basic landscaping needs for both commercial and residential. JC's will give you a free estimate.